All right, we are back again. It is Monday night. It is 9 p.m. and you know what that means. It's time for Monday Night Perry. I'm going to go ahead and switch us to the close-up camera because we are doing some more figure painting on my in progress 3D print replica of the Toxic Crusader 1992 Playmates figure. I got a lot of parts here, and we got a lot of different colors to do. We got some second coats of some of the coloring we've already done that needs to go on. So I'm gonna get everything off my little makeshift drying rack, bring it out onto the field here, and we're gonna get started. I've been behind my skis all day today. I was supposed to go do legs with Rip. He had to postpone until tomorrow, and that threw all my scheduling for my workouts off. I was really relying on going over there and doing legs there and not having to put my own workout together here today. And yeah, so when I'm done with this, I got to go back. Which direction is in the camera? Back that way over to those funky lights where my basement gym is, and I gotta hit shoulders and abs because it ain't gonna be legs today, I'm afraid. But that's all right. We're gonna do legs tomorrow. All right. So, as a refresher, I'm going to go ahead and bring it on up on the screen here for us. That is the figure we're working on, and those are our pieces currently. We gotta hit those oranges. We got to come back on the greens and do a second coat. I think if I hold, for example, the torso up real close to the camera here, you should be able to tell that that's got some it's got some streaking in it. You know, you can see a lot of brush strokes. So we're going to hit another coat on there, and that should take some of that out. And we might also be able to alter the coloring a little bit. The color on here you can see is pretty sort of faded green, and I've got something a little bit brighter happening here, and that may just be the primer coming through. If it does end up being brighter, that's okay. He was a pretty brightly colored cartoon character. I am very much dreading when we get to the face and the fine details there, because those little pupils that are circles with white dots in the middle, the sort of darker color around the lips and the eyes, that's going to be hard because these pieces are very small. You know, I have big hands to begin with, so scale is a little awkward to tell here, but you know, for example, his head is very small in my hand. So when you get the idea of the little bitty details that we got to get on there, you know, we really we're looking for it to end up roughly like this guy here, and that's a lot of detail to squeeze onto there. But you know, I think we're gonna make it happen. I have some Gundam paint markers that might help when the time comes. All right, but for now, we've chit-chatted enough. I'm gonna use these some of the dirty cups from last time. I don't see that being a problem. That paint in there is thoroughly dried and not going to be an issue. And if it does start to chunk up on me, I'll chuck it and switch to a different cup. These are Dollar Tree cups. They come you know, something like 40 to a pack, and you know, almost no cost per cup on that, you know, when you really think about it. All right, double checking to make sure my posts have gone through so that we're ready to roll here. All right, yeah, we should be good. Get my reference image back up. All right, so first things first, I wanna hit as much of this green as I can right away so that some of it gets to drying before we come back and do some of that detail work. And we also got to get into those oranges that are a lot of the colors on here. So the first step in that is we are going to mix up our green again. And one nice thing about reusing this cup is that I've got the reference green in there. So I'm sort of mixing on top of what is essentially the reference for what I want this to look like. So got to get these all shaken up again. Very glamorous, I know. I've been thinking about tomorrow's stream and what we might want to do. I know there's going to be there's new DLC that came out today for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, featuring Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko. I'm really considering snagging those and doing a playthrough with the new characters, but I may stick. I'm still really enjoying Monster Jam Showdown, so we might do a bit more of that. All right, let's get in here with this. Going in with a sort of lighter green first. It's a good little heap of that to start with. We'll grab one of these brushes. I've had them soaking in water so they'd be as clean as we could get them before we had to use them again. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right, but we're starting with that light green. And this time I'm going to give it a little bit more of this dark green. I want to go a fair bit darker than we did last time. I might even dip in just a little bit of the black, because we're looking for that sort of dull, again, to pull this reference image up. It's a very sort of dull green on the figure. And again, if it's not exact, that's okay. See if I can bring it up closer so everyone can see. Yeah, let's see what that's doing. Get the good light on that. That's really similar to what we had last time. I think I want to go a bit darker and a bit duller. And I think the move there is going to be, I'm going to try adding just a little bit of the black, like just a drop or two. That's one of the fun things about mixing your own colors, is especially in these Dollar Tree cups, is if I get it wrong, I'm just gonna grab another cup and start over. Yeah, you can see all the marbling in there. It takes a little while for this to mix in. Oh boy, that might have been a bit much. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, that might actually be pretty good. Ooh, okay, all right. I don't know how it's, yeah, on camera it reads a lot brighter than it is, but that's looking an awful lot like my reference image here. Let's see. Get it off there so I don't drip it on the phone. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's the one. All right, so we're going to use the green that's already on these pieces as sort of like our base layer. That particular, the streaking and everything that's on there, will really work to grip this next layer of paint. I know that from experience from painting the Perry figures here on the show. All right, I'm going to bring a little bit of the light up here and a little off of the table. And we're going to start with the torso. We're going to start with the parts that I really want to dry so that I can try to get some of the other colors done. All right. If I hold him mostly by his belt here, then I kind of don't touch any of the green parts. All right. Let's see how this wants to stick on here. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is doing... Coat number 2 is always better. Always better. I'm walking that fine line between, do I pander to the camera with how I hold this, or do I go for accuracy? Oh yeah, okay, this is looking really nice. Yeah, this is that sort of pale green that you see on like the Donatello Ninja Turtle figure. Most people don't notice that the turtle figures were sort of different colors compared to each other. Donatello was a very sort of pale green. Leonardo was like, I would say he was sort of your what I would say like classic, like a Kelly green, You had Raph, who tended to be a little bit darker, and Mikey that tended to be a little bit lighter, which is fitting. It kind of fits their personalities, I think. You know, Donnie's color being a little bit closer to what an actual turtle's color would be, that sort of pale green. You know, being scientifically accurate would be, that's your character trait for Donnie. And then Leo being that classic Kelly green, you know, being the leader. It's not the most interesting, but it is like sort of that leading man quality. Yeah, I think that's looking a lot better now. You know, it's weird. I kind of like the bright green, but I know these colors dry a little bit brighter than when they go on wet. So we'll see. We'll see what this does. Yeah, yeah. We'll hit these again. If it turns out that we don't really like it, the nice thing here is the absolute worst case scenario. If I wanted to start over from scratch, it's a couple bucks worth of plastic. I 3D printed this, so you know I'm not spending huge amounts of money on this, which is sort of the point. You know, the figure of Toxie, the old Playmates, if you wanted to pick one up on eBay, loose even, which is how I prefer to display my figures anyway. You know, I've seen what they sell for, not what they're marked at, but what they actually sold for, and it tends to be in the $80+ range. And I'm not really in the market to spend that kind of money on an action figure at the moment. It would have to be a real special action figure, I guess. These little edge bits, when you get right up to the edge, is where you got to be real careful. That's where I forego the view of the camera and start to just worry about myself, because yeah, hey, that's pretty good. And I'm sure on camera you can see on the sides that sort of bright sort of streaks that are in there, versus now the part I just did that's really solid looking. All right, so we're going to clean up these other bits and then hang this up to dry. And if we end up, you know, with everything painted but not dry in time to move on to the next step, I'm going to go ahead and make the executive decision to break out the heat gun on the low setting from a great distance, never up close. And we're going to hit it with a little heat. I don't think there's any shame in helping the process along a little bit. It won't be the most orally pleasing thing on the channel, because listening to a heat gun is terrible. I might even mute the mic when I do that, but you know, for the sake of getting the project done and keeping the stream moving, that might be the move. You wouldn't guess it because this is such a sort of relaxing activity, but honestly, it's a little taxing physically, because you're focusing deeply, you're staring at what you're doing, you've got all these little movements, you're kind of tensing your hands. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm sort of dreading the idea of having my workout after this. Yeah, my day just got away from me. But you know, I'm on a really good run with the workouts right now, and I don't want to miss a day. So I might just have to suffer. Suffering's a part of the process, I guess. I don't know. That's what I'm told anyway. That's what a bunch of weird alpha male AI YouTube videos say, I think. I don't know. I turn those things off when they come on. You know, if YouTube autoplay brings it up or something. I know I'm not totally in frame on camera all the time, but my view of what I'm doing works a lot better where it was. Yeah, okay, that's looking pretty good. Toxie's looking good, man. This has been a fun little project. It was an idea that was in my head for quite some time because I saw that there were people who had done some very careful 3D scanning and then adding their own 3D printable joints to the parts of some old school action figures, and I knew I wanted to try to see about making a replica of one. I just didn't know what figure. And then a while back, before the weather turned particularly nice, I was doing my cardio down here in the basement, watching various horror movies on Tubi while I was on the treadmill. And one of the ones that came on was the Toxic Avenger, which I know I had seen when I was way too little to have seen it. My brother had the VHS. My younger brother had the VHS, I should say. My parents had seen the Toxic Crusaders cartoon that he enjoyed watching so much and didn't realize that the Toxic Avenger movies were not the same thing. So they allowed him to have that video, and he loved it. He wasn't scarred by it or anything. I think I was kind of freaked out by it. Freaked out even further that my brother liked it and wasn't bothered by it. But my brother's always had a bit of a stronger constitution for violence and grotesquerie in his art than I did. We had very different tastes when we were children. All right, and we got this one blob back here that I kind of messed up in the first pass, but that's all right. We're going to go over the outlying parts there with the orange when we color his shirt. Yeah, even there I just did a little, but that's pretty good. That green is a lot more pale, like the reference image, and a lot more deep. So I'm going to hang that up and let that get to drying, because we're going to have to come back and do some more painting on some other parts for that. All right, I think next I'm going to address the legs, because those orange boots are going to be calling to me at the same time I do the rest of that. There's a lot on his legs here. I'm going to do the big chunks of the legs first, I think, and then come back and do the little bits that stick through his torn up boots. I keep wandering right off camera. I'm going to figure out a different way to mount this camera. If you guys could see the little jerry rig that I've got set up, 2 pieces of wood screwed together and a clamp, it's quite the sight. All right. Now, one thing that's nice here, because these pants are black, which is a much darker color, this green would have a very hard time covering over that. So it's kind of buying me a little bit of leeway if my work here isn't too crisp, which it rarely is. Again, I'm using not just Dollar Tree cups, I'm using Dollar Tree brushes. They are not precision instruments, but I am using them as though they are. Yeah, I'm still off camera. I wonder if I can. I'm gonna fiddle with this camera for just a second here. See if we can bring it back a little. Yeah, that's a big improvement. Okay. Sorry you had to sit through the first portion of this with the camera in a weird spot. Well, maybe I said something you found interesting, since you probably weren't seeing a lot of what was going on. What can I say, folks? You know, producer, director, cameraman, and talent all at once. I'm a Renaissance man who's just kind of okay at all of it. Yeah, this deeper color is a big improvement, I think. I definitely went a little too light. The coloring before was definitely going to match the way the character looked on screen in the cartoon. But yeah, I watched the. Oh, we got Joey Nails in the chat. Sorry, I'm late. Closing manager wanted to take me to McDonald's to celebrate the last time we're closing it. Last time you're closing together, you bouncing out of there? Hey, Graveyard Brat's here. One of the fantastic performers from RPM Fest that we met, and also came and watched Grind while we were there. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, I was doing my cardio and horror movies when the weather wasn't so great, which meant every night I was doing my cardio on the treadmill down here in the basement. And I stumbled across Toxic Avenger, which I hadn't watched since I was old enough to really appreciate it. If appreciating is how you describe the Troma films, I don't know. And it was on autoplay. Thanks, Graves. It's very kind of you to say. Let's see. Working at the DOT start. Oh, that's right, Joey Nails. You're starting a new job. Congratulations. But yeah, I watched the 3 Toxic Avenger movies, which you know, they are what they are. I think that's the nice way I can describe them. And the third one was a huge drop off. I really almost didn't get through it. It was the worst cardio session of my life. I wanted to fall down off the treadmill and never get back up. It was terrible because the movie was dragging and ridiculous, and it really wasn't helping take my mind off of the torture and punishment I was putting myself through. And when that finished, it automatically went to the Toxic Crusaders cartoon series, which was a delightful change of pace. It was a lot of the same characters, which was great. And they really featured Toxie's girlfriend playing the accordion as a main part of that, which, as a nerd who learned the accordion as his first instrument and is obsessed with Weird Al Yankovic, I don't think it takes a lot of imagination for anyone to guess that I loved that. And there was just something about the humor and the delivery on it that really felt, I didn't watch that cartoon in its era. I was the right age, but my brother was more into it than I was, and we always diverged. If he really liked something, I wasn't super into it, and vice versa. And so when he started watching that, I stuck with Ninja Turtles. And yeah, I appreciate it a lot more now. But yeah, watching it, I was like, this is so much better than the movies, which is crazy because on paper, it definitely shouldn't be. It definitely shouldn't be. Yeah, Troma films are really something, They're the self-awareness is wild in Troma films. The Toxie movies in particular, I think the current Deadpool, the Deadpool comics were always fourth wall breaking and kind of silly, but the Troma films came first, and I think Deadpool owes a lot to those Troma films. Troma films. I'm always going to say trauma on the first go, even though I know it's, trauma feels more right. Because they could have spelled it trauma. But they didn't. I imagine for Graves tuning in, this is really weird, having only seen me wrestle, to then tune in and see this weird Bob Ross style nerd talk while I'm painting my figures. I imagine for a lot of people it's weird the first time, It's both. I assume either is acceptable. That makes sense. All right. I got to carefully put this over on my drying rack. Last week when I was hanging it up, it absolutely fell. This exact leg fell off the rack. I'm gonna switch cameras and show off my sick drying rack that I made. It's a very precision tool. It's rubber bands, a few pieces of wood, some screws, and some Dollar Tree clippy clamps. Very high tech. But it lets them hang in the air and nothing touches them, so it does the job. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's weird, these sort of benchtop working in the workshop live streams tend to do terribly on my Twitch, but really good on my YouTube. I think Twitch people really want to tune in and watch me play monster truck games. That's what crushes every time. Thank you, Joey. Well, Joey Nails, you've experienced a lot of my genius. You've gotten to see me do some of the things I'm good at that no one gets to see me do, because you've seen me teach. I was a teacher for a while. I taught the second grade in Oakland, California, and I taught English full-time in South Korea for a time. And I enjoyed teaching. It's just teaching at an elementary school in Oakland in a very poor neighborhood broke me. Those kids were some of my favorite kids, and they had it so rough, and there was nothing I could do. Yeah, it broke me. I taught there for 1 year and never taught again. I moved into working behind the scenes in education for a few years, doing development work and administrative work. Man of the people, caring for the kids of the future. Yeah, well, I tried. I went the whole year actively not letting my second graders know I was a pro wrestler. Did everything I could to not let them know. And the second to last week of school, one of the moms who I hadn't met, her kid was usually picked up by an uncle. I met her finally, and she came in and started looking me up and down and snickering to herself, and then proceeded to tell me, you look a lot different when you're not in those little yellow shorts, or little green shorts. I was wearing green trunks at the time when I wrestled, and I just froze. I knew I'd been found out, and I froze, and I said, how did, and she goes, all pro wrestling is broadcast out here. The whole time I lived in California, I didn't have a TV service. So I didn't actually know. I knew we were filming and it all went on YouTube. I didn't know that they had a deal with the local UPN affiliate. So I was on TV every week the whole time. And apparently she and her son watched every week. And this kid had known the entire year that I was a wrestler. And I said, "Oh my God!" Whenever I tell this story, I always mention the names because the kids had amazing names. But I won't, for the sake of the internet, mention anyone's names. But I said, "Oh my gosh, does child know?" And they said, "Oh yeah, all the kids know. As soon as we found out, he told everybody, and they all watch every week." Apparently, the kids were so scared of me because they'd seen me wrestle, none of them dared say anything. That was crazy to find out. Yeah, apparently, and this is the really weird part of the story. For a big goofy white guy with a ponytail, and at the time I was wearing Hawaiian shirts most days, riding around on a Vespa scooter as my main mode of transit, in one of the worst neighborhoods of Oakland, and I lived in the neighborhood. It was bad. No one ever messed with me. No one messed with me. No one messed with my scooter. No one ever bothered me. And I had kind of assumed, because they all knew I was a teacher, that it was because they knew I was like watching their kids every day. And it was like sort of, he's here taking care of the kids or whatever. It really wasn't that. One of the moms explained to me that the word that went around about me was, well, he's a big goofy white guy with a blonde ponytail and a Hawaiian shirt riding in this neighborhood on a Vespa scooter. He's probably seen some shit. And I straight up told her, do not tell anyone, but no, I haven't. Please let them think I'm as tough as they want to think. I really do. You know, for it being a pretty bad neighborhood, I don't have a lot bad to say about it myself. I got very fortunate that everyone there was very nice to me. But it was, you know, I did know that, you know, we couldn't, we had been told by our landlord, please do not park your car on the street, because they were like, we can't, we can't handle whatever's going to happen to it. And we were also told right away that you can't have mail delivered here because you will never see it. So set up a P.O. box. So we had to do that the whole time we lived there. And somehow in that terrible neighborhood, in a tiny, tiny little, I don't know about that. But in that tiny little apartment that we had in this awful neighborhood, very bad neighborhood, we still paid more for rent than I pay for mortgage every month in the lovely, I mean, very small, but lovely home where I have my own private gym and 3D print studio and a homestead and everything. You know, California's expensive. You're paying a premium for that nice weather. God, I miss that weather. Man, we talk all the time about how we both do and don't regret leaving California. You know, it was some of the coolest years of my life, and also some of the worst. When I was teaching, I had the first major wrestling injury I ever had. It was a blow-off match between myself and Dylan Drake, who was the top babyface at All Pro Wrestling. The weather in New England is garbage as a New England. Yo, I was born and raised here, and I was not thrilled to come back to it. Yeah, it was a blow-off match between myself and Dylan Drake, who at the time was the top babyface in All Pro Wrestling. My first night in the company, I won 3 matches straight and became their Young Lions Cup champion. I actually keep the trophy just off camera here. It's in the shop. I can still see it. And then in the main event, I came out and I cost Dylan Drake, the champion. I cost him his championship. That was my first night in the company. Big debut. They pushed me hard right from the beginning. And that led to a series of matches between me and Dylan. And the big blow-off was a hair versus chicken suit match, where if I won, Dylan Drake, who still has fantastic hair, would have to shave his head. And if I lost, my manager, Matthew Theall, would have to wear a chicken suit in the ring and dance the chicken dance. And in the final moments of that match, Dylan Drake, who at the time I was pretty skinny, Dylan Drake outweighed me by maybe 30, 40 pounds. Not a ton, but enough. We were a similar height. He was a jacked muscle guy, and I was just skinny at the time. I had just finished a lifetime of being a fat kid and had become a skinny kid. And he came off the top rope with a crossbody and just caught a weird twist in the air. And when he landed, his knees went directly into my right ribs and broke one of my ribs. And it was bad. Thankfully, that was the last bump I had to take in the whole match. Unfortunately, the very next thing that was going to happen was he was going to put me in the sharpshooter, his finishing move. So with a freshly cracked rib and a concussion from moments earlier in the match, he twisted me into a pretzel onto my chest in a sharpshooter. You've never seen someone tap faster in a big match than that. It was horrible. The very next day, you know, I'm out and about just dealing with having a broken rib, because you know, there's nothing to do for a broken rib. All you can do is let it heal. And the very next day I started to not feel so good, and I thought it was the concussion. I thought I was in worse shape than I'd previously assumed, so I did the unthinkable when you're on a teacher's insurance plan, and I went to the hospital. And while I was in the waiting room, I suddenly had to spring up and run to the bathroom and began violently throwing up. which I at the time thought was the concussion. It turns out my students had given me a stomach bug. So I was throwing up with a concussion and a freshly cracked rib, which was terrible. I will say of the stomach bug, though, it was a very effective weight loss method. I lost 15 pounds in 72 hours with that stomach bug. The match was on Friday that I got hurt. Saturday, I knew I was sick and hurt. And Oakland didn't have enough subs. So Monday, all busted up, all banged up and sick, and 15 pounds lighter than they'd seen me on Friday, I went to work. That was awful. Right as my rib healed, some, 6 to 8 weeks later, however long it takes if you're being careful, I had my return match. My first match back since injury was against a 300-pound dude from Texas. And I was very concerned about that being the first match back. And thanks, Joey. A hug for my injury. That's, I'm going to say, oh, wow. Oh, shit, I'm so old. Almost 13 years ago. But yeah, 2 days before my return match, I was driving to work again on the Vespa scooter. Now, when I say scooter, you're picturing like a much smaller scooter that's kind of goofy and funny. This thing was basically a motorcycle. It was 250 cc's, and when I first bought it, I was 280 pounds, and it could do 80 on the highway with me on it. So calling it a scooter is something I do mostly for comedic effect. It was basically a motorcycle. That morning, it had rained. Already you can tell this is not going to be a happy story. And, someone wasn't watching what they were doing and pulled right out in front of me at an intersection at a big straightaway when I was coming off the highway. And I crashed my motorcycle at 50 miles an hour and proceeded to go sliding down the wet road all over the place. I managed to walk away from that, just all scraped up and banged up. In fact, the motorcycle was still rideable. I avoided hitting the car and just ate it on the pavement. And when I called to try to get out of going to work, because I had just been in a motorcycle crash and really didn't feel like I wanted to go into my rowdy group of 7-year-olds, I was told that they had no subs and that I had to come in. So I went back to my apartment. I told them I would be 20 minutes late, went back to my apartment, showered off all my road rash, and proceeded to tape myself up like a mummy using basically just the wrist tape that I wear to the wrestling ring, because that's what I had. And then I put on long sleeves and long pants so that you couldn't see that I was all taped up, and went into work. That's what teaching in a not so great school system in 2011 was like. And then, 3 days later, I still wrestled the giant 300-pound Texan, just went through with the match anyway. Figured, what, am I going to get hurt worse? I don't really think it gets much worse than this. All right. That's looking pretty good. I've been yammering and talking so much that I can feel the paint I mix starting to gel up just a little bit as I go, which, truth be told, is making it a little easier to maneuver and handle. But eventually, when I get to, I better do the face next, because if I wait any longer, it'll gel up too much and it'll be hard to maneuver. Oh boy, yeah. There's one little like. So I left these out in the sun when they were first drying, and that meant that all kinds of dust and dirt and detritus could get in there. So it looks like there's a little hair that kind of dried into the paint here, and I've got these little tweezers. I don't know if you'll be able to see on screen exactly what I'm doing, but see if I can separate that from the piece. I might have to take an X-Acto knife to that. I really don't want to. It's going to mess with the paint pretty good if I do that. Use the back end of them, see if that... It's going to drive me nuts. Little details that no one will see once this is finished and on a shelf, but I'll know it's there. You know, this is the problem with neurodivergence. I can't let it go. My particular brand of neurodivergence. Yeah, okay, I see. So Weird Al announced his tour dates this morning, which is very exciting for me. And thankfully, because I'm on his mailing list, I get access to the pre-sale tomorrow. So I'll be buying my tickets for next summer's tour tomorrow, when the rest of the world has to wait till Friday. What's the point in having privilege if you don't use it? I don't know if being on someone's mailing list is considered a privilege. Maybe it's their privilege to have me on the mailing list. I don't know. Either way, one of us is doing great. It's probably Al. If I had to guess, it's Al who's doing great. Yeah, I know. I keep going out of frame here. I still gotta mess with this camera a little and see if I can. Yeah, that might. I guess that's a little bit better. Now, what can I say? When I get nervous about the harder to paint parts, keeping it in frame really becomes a secondary concern. All right, that's looking good. Oh boy, yeah. I need a better set of tweezers. Turns out tweezers from the dollar store are not actually that great. Got to kind of bend them to make them behave. Yeah, that'll work. Let's see if I can get that. Where do you find the files for these toys? So there's a few different sites. When I was first finding files for things to print that I wasn't designing on my own, I was using a site called Thingiverse, which is great. Everything there is free. But then when I wanted some nicer, more interesting stuff, there was a site called Cults 3D, and the fine folks over there, it's all users uploading stuff, and they're doing the important work in this world, putting up the files of toys from the 90s and 80s that they've 3D scanned, and that they've then gone in and cleaned up and added 3D printable joints right into the model, so they're just good to go, which is amazing, because the type of joint work that was actually in those figures is not super 3D printer friendly. You'd have to do a lot of post work on it to make it work out, whereas these just kind of pop together. Gotta tell you, I'm a little surprised Bobby's not in the chat. I'm sure he's dying to tell us about how Monster Truck Throwdown was this weekend. I just saw some highlights from it that the company put up on Instagram. Yo, he beat me for good shows this year. The Monster Truck shows I went to were all fine, but man, the one he went to, that looked dope, man. The track setup, the trucks that were present, like, man, looks pretty great. And I was waiting to hear what he got for merch, too. I saw he shared a bunch of pictures on Twitter of him with the different drivers and stuff. I was pretty jealous of some of the folks he got to meet. Yeah, boy, this paint is starting to gel a little bit in here, because I'm yammering and going slow. Apparently, dollar store acrylics don't appreciate a good story like the rest of us. That's okay. Yeah, originally when I was taking this project on, I had thought it would be kind of neat to do two of them at the same time, and then do one as like a giveaway. You know, one would go on my shelf, and then one would be a giveaway to some lucky fan. And yeah, with how much is going into each one, that ain't gonna be what happens here. There we go. That's what I need. Good. That's the other thing that's kind of nice about these acrylics on this 3D printed plastic, even with the primer on there, is if you get somewhere you don't want it, it's pretty easy to just wipe it away real quick, which is what I just did. I got you know, with the paint thickening up, it gets a little hard to get it to go right where you want it. So I'm having to be real careful around the eyes and the mouth here, because those I want to keep white. Once you get a darker color over it, it's real hard to get it to go back. But yeah, I can safely say I don't miss my days teaching. It was a hard life with some of the worst pay I've ever had for full-time work. I am pretty lucky though. I've been able to over the years have a few students reconnect with me years later. I have a kid when I was a camp counselor when I was in my teens. A girl that I used to babysit even that I managed to bump into again years later, and she's every bit the colorful character I would hope that she'd have grown up to be. She's a delight. She got married a couple months ago, or maybe, gosh, I guess it was actually while the world was shut down. Yeah, you know, I still haven't recovered from the time shift of COVID back to the real world. I mean, that's partly that I never went back to an in-person job ever again. You know, uh, it was really something to be said for work from home. That's really kind of great, but boy, you lose track of the days and the time. It was like 4 in the afternoon today before I realized I was supposed to stream tonight. I didn't even realize it was Monday. Okay, that's good. Yeah, got those details in there. What we got for cover? Oh, we got the whole backside to do here. I say we. You guys don't have to do anything. You can just watch me flounder and struggle. I think that's why people buy tickets to watch me wrestle. You know, they wanna watch me struggle through it. Everyone's waiting for old Pear Bear to slip up. All right, how are we looking here? Oh yeah, we got a couple little spots that need. Yeah, this is the point where I take it away from the camera because I need to get eyes on it up close. I will admit I literally use stuff that I picked up from watching Bob Ross, even when I'm doing figures. Like just the way that you can drag your brush across something to reshape it. That's something that, you know, I wouldn't have otherwise known. But I watched him do it when I would stay home sick as a kid. That's one of the nice things about having grown up in my era was when I stayed home sick, I had things like Bob Ross on TV. There we go. All right. The head can go on the rack. All right, and now we're down to just the parts that go solid green, so I can see how's this paint holding up. Yeah, we can get through these on it. And I think that might be the last coat that's going to need. All that's coming through pretty good. Oh boy, I went real heavy there. All right, we don't want to do all that. That's going to be globby and a mess. All right, here we go. And one thing that's nice here is if some of that old green that's a slightly different shade wants to shine through here, it's kind of going to give a more textured feeling to his weird toxic skin. So not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I am going for full coverage because in a perfect world, I kind of want this to look like the straight off the shelf toy that you would have gotten back in 1992. But if it looks a little cooler or a little different, again, that's fine. Oh, we got Grizz coming in. It's Grizzly Raid time. Oh, have I really been streaming that long already? Yeah, wow. Yeah, closing in on an hour. That's usually Grizz time. Hey, welcome, Grizz crew. Good to see you guys. We're back painting my 3D printed Toxic Avenger, Toxic Crusader figure. You know, trying to recapture the toys of my youth, but without spending so much damn money on eBay. I'm willing to put in a little extra work to not pay $80 for an action figure that's just going to sit on a shelf, you know? Also, it's kind of fun, you know? Certainly there's worse ways I could be spending a Monday night. There we go. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I've been complaining through a lot of the stream that I've been a little behind my skis today. I got my scheduling thrown off a little bit. I was supposed to train legs today with Rip Bison. He and I do legs together at the gym in his garage, and he has better leg equipment than I do. And at the last minute, he had to bail, and we had to reschedule for tomorrow. And I wasn't able to recover quickly enough to get my shoulder workout in before the stream. So now when I'm done here, which, probably be 10:30, maybe 11, that's when I have to start my workout, which is not ideal. Working out at that hour kind of sucks. You've already had a whole day ahead of you. You're tired. It's hard to really focus and get a good pump after you've been through it for the day. But I can barely use that as an excuse. It's not like I have to go into an in-person day job or anything. So I am still in the midst of rebuilding the deck in our backyard. So I did spend a big portion of today outside hauling wood and using power tools and hauling big heavy concrete pavers around and pouring bags of concrete. So I guess I can claim that is something that's got me feeling tired, but I don't know. I feel like people have to deal with worse. It's unfair for me to complain. That's right. Technically, I was just saying earlier that while this may seem, the way I'm talking and what you see me doing may seem like a very relaxing thing, the focus and the dexterity involved in holding these little pieces so carefully and everything is actually like kind of exhausting in its own way. I will say when I finish streams like this, I legitimately feel pretty spent. Like, I go up and I download the file to throw it up on YouTube, and I am just tired, So, you say the finger workout jokingly, but man, there's truth to that. Especially I got these, great big monkey paws here, and they got to grip these teensy little toys in a way where I'm not going to smear the paint all around or paint a part that's not supposed to be painted. Be intense. We do customs for wrestlers sometimes. Oh yeah. So you totally get it when you make custom figures and you do little fine point painting, which I got to tell you, I am dreading. I'm going to pull up my reference image here. I am absolutely dreading when I get to Toxie's face, because I don't know if you can see, both of his pupils are blue circles with white in the middle, and he's got darker green around the lips and eyes, almost like an eyeliner. That detail is going to be a nightmare, because really, the headpiece, I just had it in my hand. It's that's his torso in my hand. This is a small figure. So getting those little details right is, yeah, I'm dreading getting. I'm doing it last because I'm dreading it so much. Um, but I think we can safely. I'm gonna have to inspect the yellows that are on here. There's not that many colors on this figure, which is real convenient. But I think I'm gonna inspect the yellows and the purples and make sure they're okay. I can already tell the purples need a second coat, but I think the yellows might be okay. And if that's the case, we can try to mix up that orangish red that's on this figure. It's very, very distinct color. You know, it's vibrant, but it's not like a bright yellow. It's also not a red. It kind of fits right in between. Getting that color exactly right is going to be a little bit tough, but it will be one of the last like big colors that needs to go on the piece. The real stressful part is going to be when this is all done. I have to pop all of it together. And on 3D printed figures, no matter how carefully done the joints are or how good of a 3D, I mean, this one's a resin print as opposed to a filament print. No matter how good the resin is, no matter how good the joints are, you always run the risk of snapping those joints. And if they snap, there is no repairing that. You just have to reprint it and start over, which means I'd have to paint it over again too. So that's going to be very stressful for me. That will certainly not be done on a live stream. All right, I think this is getting pretty close to clean here. All right, I'm going to let that soak for a second in that disgusting, dirty acrylic paint water. All right, let's get a look at which piece do we want to start with. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do the unthinkable. I'm going to have to hit these with the heat gun for a minute. This is one thing that's really nice about these cheap, you know, dollar store Walmart acrylic paints. You know, they're 50 cents to 85 cents a bottle, depending. And I mean, you can see I use very little of them for each project, so these are going to last me forever. I got drawers full of them. One thing that's nice about them, they dry very quick with a little bit of some light heat gun. So, Herobotics here, putting you on while I'm playing some Deadlock. Hell yeah. All right, Grizz. Take care, my friend. Oh, you're cool. Hey, make that money, man. Always. And I'm sure I'll see you again. Always happy to have your raid. All right, so I'm going to break out the heat gun, but I'm going to do you all a favor, and I'm going to mute myself while I do it, because otherwise you're going to be sitting through this, which I have to imagine is unpleasant. Like that can't be good, right? All right, bring this. You know what? We're going to switch to the big camera so you can see what I'm doing a little bit more. All right. There we go. All right, let's back this up so that everything becomes more. Yeah. Now you're getting kind of both views here. I'm going to bring us down just a hair. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We'll readjust in a minute, but I think this will get us started. So yeah, this is a cheap little heat gun. It's really nice. It doesn't get that hot, but it also has a low heat setting, which is what I'm going to use, and I'm going to try to keep it a ways back from these pieces. Essentially, you can do this with like what a lot of model makers use is they'll buy like an old hair dryer at like a Goodwill or something, especially one with a low heat setting, because you just need some warm air to blow over them, and this stuff dries really nice, like dries to the touch, like you won't smear it, and that's what I'm trying to achieve here. So we're going to do that. I am going to mute the mic while I do it because again, it's not going to be pleasant sounding. All right, here we go. Yeah, so you could see I was keeping the heat gun moving a lot, and that's because you really don't want it to stay all in one place. You can get the paint to bubble up if you do that. You can get parts kind of softening and melting, even though this isn't a thermoplastic, so technically it shouldn't. But all plastics, have relatively low melting temperatures, generally speaking. All right, I'm losing the hoodie because it's been cold and chilly all day, but down here it warmed up a bit. This is for new viewers, my Bigfoot shop stool. Yep, living the gimmick every day. I'm sure you can see piles of monster trucks behind me here. This is my toy making workshop and nerd dungeon. Yeah, Joey, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying while I was muted was more kind of noting that there's definitely a few green spots that are going to need a little touching up, I think. I might even just leave them. Like I said, if there's a little bit of that other color kind of leaching through, it adds a bit of texture to what's essentially supposed to be bubbly, awful green skin anyway. So I don't know. Maybe it's good. All right, I'm going to switch us to the other. I can read lips. He gave out his pin. That's true. Yeah, I was doxing myself. It's important, I don't want anyone to beat me to the punch. Shadow Mark III. Shadow Mark III. Do I know you in real life, or are you a first time viewer? Because it's possible I know you and I just don't know your screen name. Self-empowered. Oh, cool. Well, welcome. Yeah, this is my 3D printed version of the 1992 Toxic Crusader Toxie figure that I'm working on getting painted up. Starting to see some spots I missed last week, but going one color at a time. It's been a bit of a process. I like to use cheap materials because it's the whole point of this is to not spend a lot of money. Because working on model plane at the moment. Oh hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, when I was a kid, I did a lot of model planes, a lot of model rockets, and in fact, right there on the shelf, that's my RC Clodbuster from the '80s, and right next to it are my 3D printed Perry Von Vicious monster trucks. Pretty proud of those. Those are my prototypes. That's why they're not painted up, but leaving them that one solid color means that they match pretty well. We definitely don't all know Perry in person. Gringo knows me in person. Gringo knew me in the pre-Perry days, long before the evolution of the human monster truck that we've all come to know and love. All right, so I think it's time to tackle the orange. I think I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It's been driving me nuts. It's been intimidating because it's such a great color, and I'm gonna have to custom mix it on my own. But on the reference picture, you can see it's orange, bordering on red, bordering on pink, like a very, very distinct color. Do it. Yeah, I've been putting it off. It's been intimidating to me because it's a cool color, and once I have it on there, everything that's going to be colored will have color on it, and that's a very intimidating thought because once you hit that point, it's hard to cover back with if something's darker going over something lighter. It's very difficult. All right, but we're going to try. All right, got to get these started mixing. I've pulled so many stupid colors out that I probably won't need. Like, I can't actually imagine I'm going to need to throw pink into this color, but I brought some out in case. And I've got whole drawers of stuff to look in if this doesn't work, so we'll see. Again, the nice part about using Dollar Tree stuff is if I screw it up royally, starting over doesn't really cost anything. It's true, calling you Perry is a bit odd for me. yeah, doxing and what have you. It's weirdly easy for Herobotic to call me Perry, but I think that's for completely different reasons. I actually just hung with Herobotic yesterday, in fact. Herobotic and a crew of us from back in the day, and Herobotic had the kiddo. We all did some mini golfing, did a zip line. I'll have a clip of that in a vlog at some point. Kind of a zip line? I don't know. Calling it a zip line is generous. It was sort of like a weird carnival ride. I don't. It's hard to describe. You kind of sat on it and got like, it was like a hard metal seat that you got attached into, and then it kind of zip lined you. I don't know. It's weird. All right. I'm gonna go in with some of this yellowish orange. It's nice and bright, so there's a pretty good chance that I end up hitting close to the color I'm looking for here if I kind of go in light with the red. It's a slew of animated GIFs that are concerning. Do I airbrush? I do, but not in a while. I haven't cleaned out my airbrush since last year. Boy, yeah, it's been over a year. I wrestled in Japan for the last 3 months of last year, and haven't touched or cleaned my airbrush since getting back. I have a cheap airbrush. I got this sort of like Amazon special starter airbrush kit. It does plenty for me. You know, if you care for it carefully and you take the time to really mess with it and kind of learn how it's going to work, I think it's pretty doable, even with a cheap one. Like, I really didn't want to spend a lot on it, and I've had good results. I don't have any of them here because I sold them all. My Perry Von Vicious monster truck toys always sell out at the merch table. I never have any left whenever I bring them. Let's see. This might need to look a little more nuclear when all is said and done, but we'll see. Right now, it's the red and yellow is giving a lot of McDonald's vibes here. Yeah, we gotta go lighter with that. That went a little. Oh, it's actually not too far off. I don't know how it's reading on camera. It looks like it's dead on. It looks like I nailed it, but in person here with the actual, well, maybe I just had the bad lighting. Yeah, it's going to need to be just a little bit brighter than that. Do I give it the straight? Yeah, I'll give it a little bit more of this. I mean, I guess it could be portable. You know, any little airbrush can be portable if you are willing to take it somewhere and plug in. But it came with a little, the size of like an old Walkman air compressor that does the trick. I was really impressed. I was using it for a while when I had designed my first Perry monster truck toy. I sold out of them. But then I'm going to a lot of the same markets to wrestle again, and they'd already bought the toy, so I needed something new, but I didn't have time to design a new thing. So I took a bunch of the ones I'd printed, painted the bodies black, and then used the airbrush to kind of do some like purples and some blues and some pinks, just little kind of blotched in airbrush bits. So it looked a little like a galaxy, and then I took some white paint on my finger and just flick, 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 made little stars all over it, and sold it as a variant of the same toy. And yeah, people really like that. You know, I think we might have done it here. What do we think? Am I too dark? Oh yeah, once it's in the light, you can see. I think that's going to be close enough. What do we think? I think that's pretty good. You know, for having like no idea what I'm doing virtually ever, I'm pretty happy with that. All right. I don't want to start on the main body, though. That's super intimidating as like a first place to go with it. And also, this brush that I use to mix it is maybe a little big and unwieldy for this. So I'm going to go back to the same small brush I had before. Just get it good and clean first so I'm not accidentally mixing a bunch of toxic green into the equation. All right. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. It is Toxic Avenger. When all these parts are finished, hopefully, that's what we're going to be looking at. It's the 1992 Playmates Toxic Crusader, Toxic Avenger, depending on where you're looking figure. Yeah, originally sculpted by Scott Hensey, who is one of my all-time favorite toy sculptors. He made all the Ninja Turtles. He worked a lot for Playmates. He did the He did the Playmates Dick Tracy figures that are all very distinct in their own way. He has this great way of finding his way into doing characters that are sort of classically disgusting and gross, and making them like really accessible and toy-like. I love that. All right, so I think we start with one of the boots. I think we go to one of the boots first as like a safe testing place. Hey, Bobby Gilbert made it. There you go. Wait, I'm not one to mock someone for taking a nap. If I'd had my way, I probably would have slept through this stream tonight. I was beat today, man. All right. So we're gonna get in. Right now the boot's all white. You can barely tell that there's a yellow stripe on there. We're gonna get in here and hopefully not undo all the careful hard work I've done up until this point. Oh, that looks so good on there. Oh, I'm so happy. Last week when I started this, I was finding that because I had looked at the toy in a very unfinished way for so long, that seeing just the green go on, that was the first thing I did, was the first layer of green. I was so excited. It was looking so cool and just like kind of a big surprise. You know, I'd looked at it for so long, it had sat in front of me as just translucent plastic, and then it was primed and it was white, and it just sat there as plain white. So when you start to get a little bit of color on there, it starts to look like the actual object. It's just it's a wild feeling, considering that just a couple weeks earlier, I move slowly on projects. Just a couple weeks earlier, it had been a dumb idea written down in a Google Doc as like an eventual project. And then it just came together, which is amazing and so much fun. Voice is still recovering from Saturday. Yeah, I was saying earlier, how was the show, man? I just saw some highlights that Monster Truck Throwdown put up on Instagram, and it looked like an amazing show. You had a crazy track set up for that show. Joey Nails, when you get a chance, check your Discord DMs, Perry. I will do that. It'll 100% be sometime after this, but I still need to force my way through a workout when this is all done. Back there in those funky lights behind me there. I don't know. I'm kind of worried. I think in the upcoming weeks, as it's supposed to be cloudier and less sunny and less fun, and I'm very susceptible to getting tired and gloomy when it's dark all the time. I'm gonna have to switch all the lights back there. They're all smart bulbs, so I'm gonna have to open the app on my phone and switch them all back to just bright, because I need light. I get down in the dumps and depressed when I'm in the dark. Today I felt it, and it was just cloudy. It was sunny for a little bit. The sun came out right as Weird Al announced his tour dates. What a great couple of minutes that was. Let's see. Hang on, I'm catching up on the chat here. Let's see. Your Insta is crazy. You're a beast. Hey, thanks. You know, it's been a long journey to get to looking the way I look. You know, I was a chubby kid my whole life, and then I was a very, very fat kid, particularly in high school and college. And then when I started wrestling, I lost a bunch of weight and got way too skinny. I started taking vitamin D recently, like within the last month, and it has definitely helped. I actually picked that up from my friend Sean Chatfield of Mega 64. He was diagnosed as needing some of that, and it was just an over-the-counter thing. And when he started describing some of the problems he was having prior, it sounded awfully familiar to me. So I reached out to him, and he sent me a screen grab of what he gets. So I got the same thing, and it does. It helps. It helps a great deal. Serotonin precursor. That it makes a lot of sense. Blockhead was super cool, Bobby says. Darren Basil dominated. Oh man, you had a great show. I'm super jealous of some of the drivers you got to meet when you shared the pictures with me. And when I saw them start popping up on Twitter, man, what a great show! And the last one of the season, so you know they were all just going for it, which is a lot of fun. You know, you had a good show. I bet you had an absolute blast. Did you get any cool merch? I didn't get to ask about the merch table, but I know the driver Athena mentioned on her Instagram that the merch setup was looking pretty epic at that show. All right, let's see here. Now this is where it gets tricky because I got to get between some parts here. Let's see here, Joey, you still in the chat? I'm gonna do the thing where I have you plug whatever shows you have coming up. I know you told me earlier today that you're gonna have to miss Grind this weekend. That's a shame. I know Herobotic will be there though. He's coming out to Grind on Saturday. So nerve-wracking. I got to get this down to a really fine point here. I hate it. Get so stressed. I'm painting a toy that no one but me could possibly care how it turns out, and I'm like stressing. Maybe not the point of this exercise. You know, this should be a relaxing, fun thing, I think, right? All right, let's get that point back on the brush again. Bobby says I could only afford a blockhead die cast. Hey, that's a great takeaway. I expect you to post a picture of that because that truck is really cool. That's a great design. Joey Nails, no bookings, taking a sabbatical after trained at Elite and seen that I need a lot of improvement. Hey, that's really cool. Did you have to bail on any bookings you'd already agreed to, or just stop taking some for a little bit? That's really good self-awareness because, you know, I think if I had had the same experience after I started doing shows, I don't know that I would have had the self-control. I need that approval of a room full of strangers cheering or at the time booing me back when I was a full-time villain. All right, let's do the headband on the head. I think that's gonna really move along how this head looks. Only pulled out of Clipper City Rumble. Oh, that's was that just a Rumble match? Because you might have been okay to be in that. But you know what though, your heart's in the right place. You know, you want to be the best you can be, and if you don't feel you're there yet, why go have a subpar performance? So I feel you on that. Again, that self-awareness is crazy because when well, first of all, when I was your age, I hadn't started wrestling yet. But when I was first starting wrestling, I don't think I would have been able to control myself. You know, I needed those bookings. I mean, honestly, some days it still feels that way. So you're liking the elite school then. That's awesome. I've heard good things. I really have. Who's the trainer over there? Probably trainers, plural, I would assume. Let's see. Bobby Gilbert, that was 70 years ago. I don't look a day over 95. Yeah, it wasn't even dojo cleared, so point in taking bookings to risk hurting myself to others. Yeah, I get that. Mike Hollow and Scott Reed. Oh man, I've known Scott Reed for like 1,000 years. He was on some of the first shows I was on. I hope he's doing well. He seems like he's doing well. I see his stuff online every now and again. We haven't bumped into each other in probably, I don't want to say how long because it just lends credence to me being old, but a really long time. I haven't bumped into Scott Reed, Joey Nails, since you were probably in elementary school. And that's not hyperbole. That's legitimately, I mean that. Oh man, yeah, the bandana's making him come to life. Oh, this is great. Yep, glad I took a dive on the orange and just said the hell with it and gave it a shot. Graves was right. It was the right move. Oh, that's so good. Look at that. Yeah, he's starting. It's all starting to happen now. I know it has trouble focusing on him, but you can start to see it happening now. That he's really coming together. Ah, that rules. Oh, so sick. Yeah, a lot of these things are going to need additional coats, which is okay. You know, I'm in no rush. There's no deadline. It's just a dumb thing I decided to do on my own. Thank you, Graves. See, sorry, Mr. Internet cut off. Can you repeat what you said? Which part, Joey Nails? The part about not having seen Scott Reed since you were in elementary school? Because the last time I would have bumped into Scott Reed, you would have definitely been in elementary school. For any new viewers, Joey Nails is a wrestling trainee up in Maine. A damn good kid who's been through a couple of my seminars. One of the only kids from his school that kept up with the training that I talked to them about. Tell the rest of those guys I'm watching. I know who's keeping up. And yeah, he's a regular here in the chat. So I'm always catching up on what he's up to. I always want to know. So Bobby, what was Bobby? Tell me about Monster Truck Throwdown. What was yeah, one half of my mods, my mod crew with Bobby. Tell me about Monster Truck Throwdown. What was the highlight of the day? What was the craziest thing that you saw them do? I'm assuming I've never seen a Throwdown show. Did they do any backflips? I know sometimes they do. I saw only a little bit of what was set up on the track, so it's hard to say. But you had a crazy lineup. There was a crazy track. And, you know, honestly, like, from what I can tell, Monster Truck Throwdown might be one of the best shows going full stop, let alone the fact that it's an indie company outside of Monster Jam. Joey Nails throwing out some subs. Hey, Mike Azari's hanging out. Hell yeah, Mike Azari, the artist brother of my fellow wrestler Travis Huckabee, who's an incredible talent. I haven't seen Travis in a little while, and I gotta talk to whoever can change that. Whoever makes the booking calls. I don't run into Travis enough. Smashosaurus did a somersault during racing? That happened during racing? Are you kidding me? Yo, that is wild. Joey Nails still throwing out those subs, man. Yeah, he's got that sweet new Department of Transportation gig, and he's not afraid to use it. Giving everybody here free rides. That's right. Find Joey Nails on Twitter. Give him a follow. I believe it's at Nails Joey, I think is his name on Twitter or something like that. He should come up. If you follow me on Twitter, it should be easy to find him because we do interact from time to time over there. Oh, I gotta get that sharp corner on this again. Yeah, some of these finer points to get into are just nerve-wracking to me, and they shouldn't be. I shouldn't care that much. But here we are. All right. There we go. Not bad for a first coat. All right. I'm trying to remind myself in my head, it's first coat. If it's not perfect, it's okay because you're gonna come back again. But my brain doesn't always work that way. Similar when I lift, I'll often have to like actively remind myself the first set is a warm-up set. You can go a little bit lighter. But I just want to jump in, you know. It's hard, but it's also pretty bad for you if you don't warm the muscle up correctly before a particular movement. Like today I'm doing shoulders. it's really hard to keep the weight down. I can lift a lot with my shoulders, but when you're lifting with your shoulders in particular, it's 3 small muscles around the main shoulder head and then 1 big muscle going into the neck. You have the trap, and then you have the rear, side, and front delt. And those are small muscles. No matter how much you build them, they're small. They're meant to work in concert with each other. But when you lift for bodybuilding, you're doing lifts designed to focus on 1 muscle at a time. So if you try to lift heavy, you are going to get injured. It's not a matter of if, or it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's hard to remember because my shoulders are one of my strong suits, and so I have to remember that. Do I stream my workouts? I don't, but I do every time I work out, with the exception of leg days over at Rips, because I get too busy working in his gym to pay attention. With the exception of leg days, I post all my workout clips on my Instagram story every day, as well as little montages on my YouTube shorts and on my TikTok. All right, that's good enough for a first pass on that boot. I don't think I left. Oh, there's one little speck of white there, and I don't trust this brush to be fine enough to get in there without making a mess. Do I have something else to use? All right, I'm going to use the point of this one because this one does come to a nice point. All right. After I said I wasn't going to use it. But yeah, you can see this brush comes to a pretty fine point there if I give it a background where you can see it. So maybe I can just get a little right on the tip there and very carefully come in here. I'm lucky. I have very steady hands for someone who's spent a big portion of their adult life getting their brain rattled around. I know a lot of my fellow wrestlers really struggle with the fact that over time, one of the first neurological issues you develop is a lack of having steady hands. But I've managed to evade a lot of that. I mean, right now I'm at a point in my career where it's not a big enough issue. You know, it's not a huge issue for me because I don't know. I don't rattle my brain that much these days. One of the nice parts about finally learning to work to my size, which I didn't for a long time, I really didn't. You know, the fact that I'm 6'3" didn't really register to me in how I wrestle until, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I spent a long time bumping like a maniac for everybody, which is good. You know, it makes for exciting matches, but I didn't have to. And it's taken me until the last couple years to learn that. And frankly, now it's very rare that someone actually, you know, when we talk through a little inside baseball, folks, when we talk through our matches beforehand, it's very rare that anyone actually says, well, I'll pick you up and I'll give you this move, because they look at me and I have a big physique and I'm 6'3" and I'm over 200 pounds, and you know, they kind of figure, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to throw you around. Well, that ends up protecting the old brain quite a bit because I'm not taking those terrible bumps. But in my younger, you know, to do a little fine literature quoting here, a little Great Gatsby, in my younger and more vulnerable years, that's not how I worked, and that's not how I was seen, and it's certainly not how I was treated. The industry has changed a lot since I was new, and much for the better, but when I was young, new guys were treated very poorly. I didn't get the worst of it at all, by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, a lot of the old-timers rather liked me. I don't know, in a lot of ways I was maybe a little bit of a teacher's pet when I was training. I was sort of a savant, if that makes sense. I had like no athletic background, not an athletic bone in my body, but I could bump perfectly every time from the first time they showed it to me. It was just dumb luck, really. And the trainers really liked that about me. They liked that I was easy to teach. And I don't think any of them expected it, because when I showed up to training the first day, I was a 300-pound kid in a Less Than Jake t-shirt. And when they asked what sports I played, I told them I'd been in a punk band that did Warped Tour. So night one, I was not the favorite. But over time, when I didn't quit, and I could bump safely, and I could also help them explain things to other students, they grew to like me. Super dumb, but how does the scaly... the scaly capscallion sound? Oh, this is a nickname for Joey Nails. I mean, it's not bad. I've heard worse. I mean, I know one guy who uses the name Perry Von Vicious. Man, I've grown to love that name over the years. I owe Johnny Torres so much for thinking up that name, because whatever the name I was playing with a different variation on the idea that was not nearly as good. And he gave me Von Vicious, and that changed everything about what I was going to do. But yeah, let's see. Because I know right now you sort of use the catchphrase 5'2" and better than you, which I don't think is bad, although better than you is certainly spoken for in pro wrestling at the moment. You know, that's a little bit like if you were wrestling in the 90s and decided part of your catchphrase would be "that's the bottom line." You know, that's going to be a tough sell to use one of the top guy in the industry as part of his catchphrase. Some loser thinks he's a monster truck. Sir, I don't think I'm a monster truck. I know I'm a monster truck. I've taken pictures right next to many of them, and you really can't tell which of us is which. Like, standing next to Bigfoot, and you're like, which one's the truck? Hey, listen. I don't think that's that bad. I think we might be able to come up with better. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Bobby Gilbert can tell the difference, but that's because Bobby Gilbert, like me, is a bit of an expert in monster trucks. What a weird assortment of viewers I've amassed this evening. There's certain people who've never heard of me until tonight. There's wrestlers, there's people who have seen me wrestle, people who've never seen me wrestle. Very strange. Bobby Gilbert you sent me a message on the Bird app? I love that we still call it the Bird app. I like that none of us are giving in to that ineffectual twerp Elon Musk and his stupid ideas. I passed a Cybertruck on the road this weekend, and it had a bumper sticker on the back that said, "I'm sorry, I bought it before we all knew Elon was crazy." Pretty good. Though it kind of sucks if you drive a vehicle that you need to put an apology on. But I mean, as far as bumper stickers go, it's pretty good. All right, come on. How fine a point can I get on here? Not to put too fine a point on it. Say I'm the only bee in your bonnet. Man, I gotta see They Might Be Giants again sometime. They played practically across the street from my house last summer at a brewery that's up here, like one of the only things in the town I live in. And I just kept putting off getting tickets, just kept putting it off. And then when the day came where I went to buy them, they were sold out. And then the day after the concert, one of my far more famous friends than me that I won't name drop because that's embarrassing, asked me if I'd been at the show. And when I said no, he said, "Oh, I was there. I could have just walked you in." Yeah, missed opportunities, man. Found something out about Monster Truck Throw. Oh, cool. Well, I can't wait. I'll definitely check the message afterwards. I can't wait to hear it. Joey Nails, 5'2". Wait, hang on. Was that it's 5'2" and better than you is your catchphrase, right? Yeah, we might have to workshop that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just think we might be able to do better. All right, so I mixed up a good bit of that orange. That might keep if I keep it over there, because that's going to need another coat. Let's see. I know the Gundam paint markers that I picked up in Japan are here somewhere. And somewhere in them is the really fine point stuff. And I got to do this on this one arm. He's got this the red stripes that are on there. I want to put those on, but I don't want to do it with a brush because that's going to be a pain in the butt. So, yeah, talk amongst yourselves while I figure out where in the bluest of blue hells I put my damn Gundam markers. Aha. Well, that was quick. Never mind. Yeah, the only tough part about these when I was picking them up in Japan is I, couldn't read anything that was on them other than Gundam markers, so I had to kind of look at them and figure it out. All right, let's see here. Got the red. Oh, Throwdown's based in Michigan. That makes a lot of sense since most of their shows I see are kind of in the Midwest. That makes a lot of sense. All right, let's see how this looks, because we might be able to get those stripes kind of in one go. That would be real nice if this would cut down on the work for me. And who knows, I might be able to use the blue that's in here to get those pupils drawn on. And if that's the case, it's really just a little bit of touching up here and there, and this thing's going to be done, which is good because we got to be getting close to the end of the stream here, because I still have a stupid workout to get through tonight. 10:39. Yeah, we'll get through this part, see how everything's doing, hit it with the heat gun, and then we may be calling it for the night. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Oh man, if that's what the blue one's going to be like, I'm definitely going to be able to do those eyes. Oh, I'm super psyched. Yeah, that's a bummer that Jim Kohler wasn't there. Now, was Avenger... I know I asked you this before. Was Avenger there just being driven by a different driver? Because I want to say that's what was going on, but I can't recall. It was a whole week ago, and while I do say I don't have any bad cognitive issues from bumping my brain around, probably some memory stuff going on there. No, Avenger wasn't there, but there were other Team Scream trucks, right? Like, I want to say like maybe like Axe or one of them was there. All right, let's see. How's this going to do here? I don't know how well you're all going to be able to see this. Oh, hell yeah. That's what we're looking for. That's going to do it in one pass, too. I'm not going to need to do two coats. Man, the Japanese, you can always trust them when it comes to making nerdy shit. They got everything figured out, man. I miss Japan so much. Like, when I'm on the road for wrestling, me and the guys, we refer to gas station egg salad sandwiches as Old Reliable, because they're kind of the same everywhere out here, and they're always good. You can always rely on that on the road. But boy, when I got to Japan, I went to one of those Japanese 7-Elevens that are so popular. You see people reviewing them on TikTok and stuff. And I had an egg salad sandwich there, not knowing that that's one of the big hits there. It was so good. Like, I still have dreams about that damn egg salad sandwich. And boy, we were there 3 months. I had one of those most days. Like, it was rare that I went a full 24 hours without having one of those. Yeah, look how clean that is. Yo, that's so good. Man. I wish I had more Gundam markers so I could just... all of this would be so much easier. All right, let's see. No, there were no other Team Scream trucks. I mean, yeah, you're right. Of course, it would be a fun show regardless. The rest of the lineup was killer. How did Athena do? She was driving one of the... was she driving one of the Sinistar trucks? Which truck is Athena driving these days? Oh, Little Miss Dangerous. Oh, you know what? Before the stream's over, I have an old school Little Miss Dangerous truck from the original Hot Wheels Monster Jam line, and I know right where it is. Like it's literally in the room with me. In fact, I don't know if it's visible. Yeah, actually, right over my shoulder. Right, the camera's back. Right there, my finger's pointing right at it in the little screen there is one of those old Monster Jam toy truck carrying cases. And in that, I have the Little Miss Dangerous from back then. I'm going to grab that and show it on camera before we're done here, and everyone will get to see the silly Zubaz shorts I'm wearing just out of frame. We got the guys from Kyushu Pro, Jet Wee, and Kodai Nozaki coming out for Grind next month. And they don't watch this, so I can give away surprises. I asked Rip if we were gonna do anything special with them since they're coming to America, and one of his responses was, "Oh, I'm getting them some Zubaz." So he's treating them right, giving them the real pro wrestler in America experience. Look at that. That's looking great. Oh man, I'm so psyched with how that came out. Hang on, I'm gonna get it on camera better and then do the zoom in on the picture here so we can compare. Yo, let's go. That's coming right along. Yo, I'm so excited about that because I did not expect any of this to go well. Which made it easy to exceed my expectations. All right, let's pack the Gundam marker back up. I know the headband on the head is going to be wet still, but boy, I think we could give the eyes a try before we're off stream here. Oh man, I'm going to zoom in all I can, see if it shows up on camera. Both pupils are little blue circles with a white in the middle. That's going to be so hard to get just right, but I do have a white Gundam marker, so if I end up, if it doesn't have that hole in the middle, I can give it a little dot afterwards. Yeah, I think we're going to have to try that before we call it a stream here. Like, I need to get to my workout, but I really want to see how this looks. All right. All right, I'm going to shake this up while I go grab that toy to show you. Took me a second to pull the box down. It's covered in VIP lanyards from monster truck shows. No big deal. I'm just super important is all. All right. There it is. I've got like literally hundreds of toy monster trucks down there. So the fact that I knew right where this was is kind of stunning. But yeah, this is the original Hot Wheels Little Miss Dangerous truck. Still with the small hubs. I want to say this would have been like a 2002, 2002. So yeah, this is one that was in my collection back then, so pretty psyched that I still have it. I know the current model is slightly different, but I know they kept some of the color scheme the same. All right. You gotta show me so. Oh, the Kodai matches. Yeah. So there's one you can find. The two that I most recommend, I should have said this before. The two that I recommend most for Kodai Nozaki matches, selfishly, are him against Rip Bison, which you can find on the Kyushu Pro YouTube channel. I mean, really, if you type in Kodai Nozaki Rip Bison, it'll come up right away. And then you can also find, from 1 week later, my headlining main event match from Nakatsu, Japan, where I challenged Kodai for his Kyushu Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. pretty wild to be in main events in Japan basically the whole tour. But they kind of explained to me, they were like, "What else are we gonna do? You're 6'3" and 230 pounds. Like, you can only be the main event here," which was kind of daunting, but also pretty cool. All right, let's see. Oh, this is going to be super. I don't know why I decided to do this on camera, because I also got to line it up with my reference image to see if I can get it right. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting the circle on the small eye. Yeah, I'm going to have to come back and do the little white dot that I talked about. But he's definitely got a little face now. Trying to see where I can get him in focus. Yeah, that's looking good. See if he'll focus better up here. That's so great. All right. Yeah, those gun. I almost didn't get the Gundam markers when I was in Japan. That's right, Japanese heavy tank versus human monster truck. It wrote itself. I don't know if it actually made the video or not, but after Rip's match with Kodai, I was the first foreigner that Kyushu ever let do a live promo, because when they knew that I had taught. Oh, you know what? Is this part orange too? Do I have more orange to paint? I do. Oh, it almost snuck by. We're not done, folks. How about that? But yeah, they knew that I had taught English in South Korea. So they knew that I knew how to talk in a way where my English would be slow enough and simple enough that most folks would understand it. Because most people there did speak at least a little English. So they had me come out and cut a promo at the end of that match to challenge Kodai the next week for the championship. That might be at the end of the Rip Bison match. I was a teacher. I was talking about it earlier on the stream. I taught English in Korea, and I was a camp counselor at an educational camp. And I also was a second grade teacher in Oakland, California. Just out here trying to help the kids. Trying to get rich like all teachers, right? The reason I don't do it anymore. Now, the reason I don't do it anymore is because it was freaking soul crushing. It's some of the hardest work. I come from a family that had a lot of teachers. On my dad's side of the family, like 3 of his sisters were teachers, and it is a thankless, wildly necessary profession. And I commend anyone who can do it long term. It's maybe the most impressive thing to me, but I couldn't stay in that world. It would have killed me. What haven't I done? Well, I don't know. I'd have to see. When I think what haven't I done in my head, I immediately think, what haven't I done that I want to do? That's what's tough. At some point, my parents did that thing that so many baby boomer parents did, where they told me that I could do anything if I tried. And because I'm a great big white dude, they were right. Very little stands in your way, even if you are poor growing up, which I was not super poor, but I was poor. But being a great big blonde white dude, yeah, it's kind of true. You can worm your way into anything. Yeah, I would say I'm a man who's managed to be mediocre at a lot of things. That's how I usually describe it to people. I have risen to mediocrity in a bunch of weird fields. Played side stages at Warped Tour with a punk band. Taught myself to unicycle, juggle clubs, play the accordion, play 6 different instruments. I've I've done stand-up comedy, performed on stage with a lot of my favorite comedians and musical acts. All just because I happen to be in the right places at the right times, and I don't know, befriend the right people, and you know, mostly I think it's because I know when to shut the hell up and not piss anyone off. Like the number of times I've been given some cool opportunity because someone better than me had pissed someone off is pretty crazy. All right. I think you guys, I think that's as good as he's going to get tonight. I don't know that I'll do a third part on stream painting because it is a lot of setup. I got to move all this back up because tomorrow night I'm going to be gaming. I think we're going to be back in Monster Jam Showdown. I still have a lot to unlock in that game, and it's proven to be wicked, wicked fun. So it's really hard for me to want to stay down here another night on the stream. But as I pack up here and get ready to face the inevitable workout that lay before me, I'm going to switch us to the other camera so we can get one more view of all the stuff on the drying rack. Now you can really sort of see some of these colors coming together. I'm pretty psyched for how this is working out. Yeah, at this point it's going to be a lot of like little touch-up stuff. I think most of the like important details, because they kept the design so simple on the figure, I think most of the highly like detailed stuff is kind of done. You know, I may take another pass at his face, kind of taking like the white marker and doing a little bit of like cleanup of some edges. But yeah, once this is all done, it's going to stay on the rack for a little bit because I got to hit it. I got some semi-gloss back there. Got to hit that, let it all cure up, and then finally pop it together. And then I finally get to edit the full YouTube video where I show how I printed them and how I did the whole process. That's you know, what we do for content, right? You know, this is that's life in 2024. All right, I am packing it up. I've yammered on enough. I need to go force myself to lift weights late into the night. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. It was so cool to see so many of you enjoying one of the slower, goofier, dumber things that I do on stream. I'll be back playing Monster Jam Showdown tomorrow night. And then, who knows, I might stream again later in the week. But every Monday and Tuesday at 9 p.m. you'll catch me here. Thank you so much for hanging out. Tell a friend. I'll see you all next time.